and XRP. It's pretty common to see a huge dip like that. I'm not too worried though, but there are some things to discuss because this crypto crash has been pretty big if you ask me. It's been pretty problematic for anyone new to crypto. It has been definitely a problem, a noticeable one at that. So what do you guys personally think?
If you hold XRP right now or any other cryptocurrency for that matter, this video is extremely important to watch until the end because what I'm going to put out in this video is data and facts, all of which can be fact checked. We'll put it all out on the table to give you a real clear idea on what is happening in the cryptocurrency market right now and what is likely about to happen. Along with that, I do want to put out some...
So yeah, this pretty much is spot on with what I have been explaining about XRP, that XRP September is terrible, and it has exactly happened that way. Exactly as I predicted. This has happened like 100%. We have seen the same scenario that I've been telling you guys about September. And now we are getting punished for it because Septembers are usually bad. Even if it's end of September, that's what's going to happen, right? Smash that like button.
Personal projections on where I foresee things going, even the price of XRP. If you do like quick updates, type an X in the comment section, click that like button, and let's get into it. Real quickly, guys, I want to state a couple of reasons I'm standing outside the corn here today. Number one, we've got the farmers taking it down, and so I want to enjoy this field while we still got it. Number two,
I mean, it's pretty obvious that crashes like this come every 4 years when crypto goes up. But it shook a lot of people up, for sure.
I heard a hilarious reply on one of my posts here today talking about how we would like to see the cryptocurrency market right now be like the corn. Grow up tall, big, and green, with green candles being...
You got to cut it down, right? Even if it goes up, you got to cut it down.
...in the cryptocurrency market to ultimately turning to gold. And historically, that's what we've seen in the month of October. Many of you are familiar with the term Uptober. And what we've seen in the past 10 out of the last 12 Octobers is positive gains in the cryptocurrency market. On average, seeing about a 14% rise. Now with that, Bitcoin still kind of leading the way. What we've seen from altcoins is, generally speaking, 10 to 20% rises on top of whatever gain Bitcoin.
I mean, also, didn't we see like the biggest bumps in November and October anyway? So September's, August were terrible back in 2021. That's a pretty clear idea.
Bitcoin gets. Generally speaking, as Bitcoin is much more matured, you see altcoins run harder. And so we are days away from October. Does that mean that right now, as we still stand here in September, seeing some blood in the streets, a bit of a dip here today, that the pain is over? No, that's not what that means. In fact, we could see a little bit more. We've got options.
But remember, guys, September is almost over. That's the good part about it. September being over is what I'm excited about, right? So there are still good places, you know, like about it. We are going to probably be seeing better months than worse months.
It's about to expire, and we could see a further dip. Now, recently I talked about how I bought some more XRP, and if we dip further, I'll buy more. And just because October is on the way, does that mean on day 1 of October, we're going to immediately see the market explode? That's not what that means. But generally,
like, no one can predict. I feel like a lot of the whales knew that this was going to happen, right? This type of dips is something that only the big whales know anyway.
Generally speaking, we start to see things warm up and then get hot in October. For a long time, weeks now, we've been talking about, hey, keep it cool, keep it calm, keep it collected, because right now we're in very volatile times, but we're about to hit October, November, and December. And
these are historically are very strong months as well. That's when people start to like cash up, bundle up, and then we enter like a big dip, a very big dip that lasts 4 years.
Historically, again, we've seen really good, strong Octobers, but this year we know that we have a very, very good chance of XRP ETFs to go live. And generally speaking, you will see when huge events like this happen, buy the rumor, sell the news. I foresee that happening for these XRP ETFs.
I mean, don't the rate cuts take like 3 months to take in? So yeah, who knows?
Where we start to see a surge even past all-time highs, potentially up to $4, maybe a bit of a dip as they are released, but then we finish out this year in November and December extremely very strong. And we're going to see a very strong end of the year, I project, and going into October. We also know that the White House and others are talking about how law is about to come out. We're about to get clarity in this market. That's really going to be the catalyst that we've talked about for a long time on this channel that really flips this market and sends us into a really strong next bull market. And so the last thing I just wanted to put out here, guys, is in times like this, it is good for us to come together as a community, stay collected.
I feel a lot of people will sell though. Like that's what happened with Shiba Inu, right? As soon as the price fell, half of the community left and the project slowly dwindled away. The thing is, XRP doesn't have to go anywhere. It has a great potential, has everything it needs to have to explode. It can grow really for multiple of days. So I am excited for that.
But know exactly what is on the table with the data and facts, because there are a lot of folks out there that will clickbait, that will give you hopium. And what we want to do on this channel is take a step back and look at the actual data.
So the actual data is September's are down.
XRP holders.
And my prediction was correct. So it was a prediction. Again, I feel like people who do this full time know way more than us, like regarding the prices, but only the big whales will suddenly know, okay, this is going to dip. We see all the factors. Let's get out of here, right? So it's happening all over again until October. I feel like it could even prolong, further from October. Nobody knows the true dates from
There's
here.
blood on the streets, baby. It's happening again. What? We'll take a look at the price of XRP right now. 2.77. We're getting closer to the 260s. What happened, Oscar? The classic manipulation, the classic sell-offs. We're ending the month of September, and this is what we're supposed to get. Well, we failed to get to the level of $3 or so. It was $2.99, so really this close. So honestly, not bad. We're looking at the 4 hours right now, but this happened Wednesday, so just yesterday.
So yeah, this dip it's big, it's noticeable, but when you look at zoom out, it's not scary at all.
A whopping 7% for XRP. What is down? Onyx, Stellar, Algorand, XRP, blood. And I'm posting the dip of the dip of the dip.
I mean, these dips are nothing. Compare those dips to 2022 market crashes. Now, those are some real dips, right? When literally one of the biggest exchanges went down. That was the biggest issue of them all. This is just a small dip in September that I kind of said is going to most likely happen. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but I said it's most likely going to happen, and here it is.
But Oscar, you said all in a couple days ago. Yeah. Because, if you're buying XRP going at 270, 280.
I mean, a lot of whales are buying for that. My birthday, but I love the buys. Happy birthday. I seen grass green when people Yes, people are giving up. I'm not giving up. Leverage traders are getting wiped out at 260. Exactly. That's the thing. And I feel like a lot of these whales are making these leverage trades. Again, I could be wrong here, but it seems a pretty obvious case of, I said below 2.5 gets scary. Above that, it's all smooth sales from here.
That's that touches people. That's gonna hurt a lot of investors when it comes to longs. And we'll take a look at what you grow right now. Want to see the latest here. U.S. revises Q2 GDP growth up to 3.8% from 3.3. $100 million worth of Ethereum longs now liquidated in the past 60 minutes. So, and I'm sure that you heard of this. I believe
it's a lot of money, but I didn't really look too much into politics at this point.
I told you. Oh no.
But this would be a huge crypto kills deal to investigate President Trump's family over foreign crypto deals. Like, yeah, he had a lot of deals. I'm not too sure. They're not XRP related, in my opinion. They're outside, like, we saw Trump coin and stuff like that. But who knows about that? I'm just hoping crypto will get regulated without issues.
I think I haven't, but this happened yesterday that Elizabeth Warren wants to investigate Trump because of family foreign crypto deals. Yep. If we go to the 1 hour right now, you're going to see a little bit more of how things are playing out. Drop a like, guys. Consider subscribing to the channel and turn on the notification bell button. Welcome. What are we supposed to be doing, Scott? We're just buying the dip. I mean, I'm doing it. It happens. There's this guy, Ben. He's been on top of everything when it comes to crypto. And the latest that he's been posting just 20 minutes ago, anyone still laughing? Why? Because he posted early.
So Ethereum ran into the highs in August, and the current pullback should bring ETH back to its 21-week EMA. After ETH drops to 21, it should rally to new all-time highs. So again, if ETH rallies to new all-time highs, should be also other cryptos, right?
September, Ethereum ran to the heights in August. The current pullback should bring Ethereum back to the 21-week EMA, which that 21-week EMA, we're looking at the 3,000 or so. And, well, a lot of people say, like, I don't think it's going to happen. And
so, yeah, these dips, they're pretty common because a lot of these whales see, okay, I made a ton of money. Let's pull everything out. I mean, truly everything before the year ends.
This guy is like, are you sure, right? So Bitcoin dominance, we have to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. That's the one that might be coming up. Yeah. Oscar, why are we dropping? Well, this guy is supposed to be dropping hard, but it's not. Bitcoin dominance is growing.
It's basically all the bad news we've been hearing is making people scared to invest into crypto at this point.
So from the 57 on September 13, now we're going to go closer to the 60%. And we don't want that Bitcoin dominance to go up, but it gives you the nice inverse correlation between the altcoins pumping and the altcoins dumping. And right now they're not. And that is why Bitcoin dominance is going up. I want to remind you guys, if you want to get 2,000 XRP.
So yeah, you get a pretty clear idea here that Bitcoin dominance always goes up during September. And it's same thing, same scenario we saw in 2021, right? August was terrible, July was terrible, then we suddenly saw an all-time high in September, November.
Chronosis.
And then we saw market cycle top, which means market cycle every 4 years. So that's what I'm more worried about 2026. Is 2026 going to be like very dry in terms of crypto? Yeah, that's going to be the big issue. I'm not too worried about September, October, November. I'm most worried about 2026, to be honest.
It came down bad. Now, BNB is not that much. Look, it's position 5, barely 4%, 2% the last 7 days.
That's because of Astor,
Kronos for me. 24%.
Look, SHIB, you know, it can never recover to its all-time highs. That's the issue. Like a lot of these coins, sometimes some win and other times others win. You can't always predict it correctly.
24%. 8%. Like, how? This one is...
That's because the whale's dumb. That's literally the best scenario, like, of how this happens. Whales see, okay, Kronos, it cannot survive the bear market that much. It's going to be like stagnant because usually it's, you know, that's when exchanges go down. Same for XRP. People are saying, okay, XRP is going to be building, so why should I hold it? You know, when it's $2, I can just sell it now at $3, right? I don't want to wait for $4. And yeah, it is causing troubles for some people. So
it was 1,000, just broke all-time high multiple times, and Kronos is like, I'm just chilling under 20. Went to almost 40 cents, but
that's the issue. Like with ETFs, our crypto exchange is going to be that competitive.
Still $1 spending.
Crypto is still super early though.
With this, I show you guys that crypto is not fair. Look, nasty Kronos, right? Crypto is not fair, everybody. Like, and it punishes you and punishes you, and this way, let's go to the 15 minutes now. Oh, it just came a little lower as I was speaking. Went all the way to 276, meaning that it just allows for more entries. Look at this. The goal is to have higher lows, right? In this case, and 269, and then we could probably have a two.
I mean, a lot of people were paranoid if we go below $3, but yeah, here you go. Even that we're like above $3 is still like above $2 still pretty amazing. A lot of these coins can only be that for like 1-2 weeks before they completely drop.
70 something, that'll be great, right? I hope that we're gonna increase those lows, right? That none of them will go past the previous, like the current low at this time, which is gonna be 269. That is the idea. And it's happening again. The fact that, well, a lot of people are getting crushed with some of the liquidations. If we do this, we're going to get an actual data. So far, Ethereum is getting the #1 spot right now in the 1 hour. In the 4 hours, Ethereum.
Like even XPL, is it XRP? So there's still Korean traders that lost big on XRP. It's very sad. To be honest, but a lot of people made money from that crash.
The 24 hours Ethereum,
Good
and in
for
the
them.
last 24 hours Ethereum, and Aster too getting liquidated. The 24 hours we have $717 million, 660 and 50 of them are longs, so they're done and cooked. And the ones that are at the most pain right now is gonna be Ethereum, and then XRP as a 12. So XRP is actually not that much.
I mean, that's the thing. Trading here, Ethereum and Bitcoin is way more traded than XRP right now. It used to be below. It almost used to be as much as Ethereum and XRP when XRP was really going up. But yeah, a lot of people are still going long on XRP. They still believe the price goes up. This just tells me, you know, they're very hyped.
Ethereum is honestly a bunch of people are loving Ethereum, and because it went under $4,000, right? Under $4,000, like you're telling me that you go almost at 5,000. Look at this. Look at that nasty red candle.
So if you understand, this actually happens every cycle.
Daily. Almost 5,000. Well, obviously people were expecting
That's exactly as Ben predicted.
more awesome growth, but no. Just allows for people to, you know, that is the bison that anybody could have wished for. An under $4,000 Ethereum bison. There's definitely pain in the market right now, and a lot of the people are gonna see this as the time of their lifetime to go ahead and get it. BTC is a 110, but it did go under.
So not to worry about that, but you get the idea of XRP being down is still nothing. Like we might go even further down in my opinion, but as long as we don't go below 2.5, if I say 2.5, well, you can hold me by the ears because that's the most worrying part for me.
275, 269. The goal is not to go under that 269. We'll keep an eye on everything because for sure.
For me, it's not 269, it's 2.5. Like that's just the number I made up, right? But it's just the fear factor of people holding.
People are not trying to get liquidated, and there's going to be more and more and more pain as time goes on.
Not too worrying though. XRP target remains high. And, you know, a lot of people were talking about XRP targets, about we're now clear from run fraud bouncing to not be trusted. You know, we talked about XRP going down. And this is the range that I have said some time ago, between $3 and 2.72 cents. And this is the range that has to hold. If it drops below 2.69 or 2.5, that's when, well, mud hits the fan, right? That's how I can say it, because that's going to be a real problem. It's going to give a lot of whales panic. They're going to be like, well, I wanted to sell it at $4. I bought like, you know, multiple millions of XRP. So maybe I should start selling it at a slight loss and try to make that money back. There's going to be a lot of whales like that. So just keep that in mind.
Bucks, and then the market makers are just playing with us at this point.
Yeah,
that's
they're
all
making
this
money.
is. This is just manipulation to wipe out and liquidate people in the meantime, take your money. And this is why, I hold 90% of my XRP is in my spot bags, cold wallets, Caleb and Brown institutional grade custody. It is not moving. There is no leverage on it. And so the market makers can try to hunt me down with my little trading bag. They still haven't been able to catch me on that. And we've been successful in our trades. But this is just short-term noise that shakes out a lot of people, right?
Now imagine, can XRP survive if it's $1 again? I definitely think so, because now it just has lawsuit over, and the crypto markets will take a huge dip, but then once it recovers, it's gonna be much better from there. So if it recovers, it needs to survive also 4 years. So keep that in mind for XRP.
Who refuse to acknowledge the data points that are in front of us. And I'm going to explain that here in this update. Now, Brad Garlinghouse retweeting XRP Seoul, Korea, absolutely showing up.
Yeah, that's the big part. XRP doesn't only, it's worldwide. That's where it wins in the long term.
He says, one thing you know about the XRP community is that anywhere in the world, they show up in force. Huge congrats to XRP Seoul team on their first event. And we at Ripple are absolutely looking forward to the next. Nothing beats the in-person meetups. Looking forward to Ripple's Swell Conference November 4th and 5th. Going to be a big one.
The conference,
Brad is right.
I mean, the conference is not what's really going to change the price, though. It is the big factors, the other factors at play.
See this community around the world, and especially in Korea.
I mean, community is a huge part of XRP, though. It's not going to affect the price as much, but it's going to build that momentum for XRP community.
They love XRP over there. Now, this is what I'm talking about in regards to some of the biggest traders and people that you know signing off, capitulating, selling off portions of their portfolio. Peter Brandt put out this tweet, signing off of X, best to you all. I will return, but do not know when. Stay safe. Take small losses, let winners ride. Love your spouse, kids, friends, and Christ. Trade to live, don't live to trade. And I think that that's pretty fair advice. For some people, they can't make.
I mean, I'm not too sure if he sold everything at a loss. That's probably like the mental toll of going down like 6 digits has been too much for him. And, he just quits. So that's the thing. A lot of these, things are take small. That's a very good point, though.
Selling off portions of their portfolio. Peter Brandt put out this tweet, signing off of X, best to you all. I will return, but do not know when. Stay safe. Take small losses. Let winners ride. Love your spouse, kids, friends, and Christ. Trade to live. Don't live to trade. And I think that that's pretty fair advice. For some people, they can't make it, right?
Maybe he got liquidated. Maybe he lost everything. It's a very scary thing.
This is heavy stuff. We're talking about money here.
He's always saying about patience.
This, especially in the stocks. Like if I was in traditional finance too, I would be probably taking my money and running as well, right? As stocks are hitting the highest valuations ever, new all-time high.
That's the thing with stocks against XRP. Yes, XRP gets like a one push, but stocks... over time, stocks never went down on the past like 25 years. I never saw stocks go down.
Are being printed, but the cracks widening is an understatement, in the economy, in that labor market with inflation still running hot. The problem is you have to get that flight to safety. You got to go somewhere. And so having some liquidity is great. And when I see Blockchain Backer putting out this post here yesterday, saying that he is actively selling a third of his entire crypto holdings until the market proves that it can escape. That tells me...
I mean, this is what we have seen in 2021, just people quitting. I mean, I don't understand that. You're selling at a loss, or maybe they're taking profit. That's completely fine. But if you are taking a loss, that's bad, right? It's the all-time high where markets turn euphoric and exciting and horrifying. There are several bull cases, several bear cases, but the market needs to prove itself from there. I mean, yeah, it is scary and it is stressful for sure. But if you're selling, nobody knows what's going to happen to the market. Is this it, or is it going to be another push? That's the issue. Stock markets are so much less stressful.
Holdings until the market proves that it can escape. That tells me that he has a portfolio that's diversified amongst some projects that don't have real motion, don't have real momentum. They don't have ETFs going live. They don't have digital asset treasury companies stacking it on their balance sheet, and they're not getting institutional adoption. Those are projects that I'm looking to offload as well too. Now, I'm not selling right now or today, but I've lowered my targets on some of those projects in my portfolio. And I never did diversify my portfolio into 50 different crap coins, right? I am not spread out that thin. But if somebody is, and in this case, I'm suspecting and just speculating, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that BC Backer, he has a diversified bag.
I mean, yeah, he would be down because the crypto markets have only responded to XRP, BNB, Bitcoin. Other coins have not performed well. The market has turned out way different than people anticipated. It's just some coins that really blew up, like maybe 3 of them, maybe 10 of them. Others still at the same price or even less than all-time high. Look at meme coins. It's very, very worrying, and we're ending 2025 now. So it's something that scares me because I don't know how long this will actually last, this type of bull run.
Of a lot of other plays that just aren't catching motion and momentum right now. And so I cut ties with some of those throughout this year and throughout last year. And
remember, boys, a lot of people will not survive 2026, 2027 in crypto YouTube. Like half of the YouTubers you see, half of the content creators, how the people in the crypto space, they're going to sell their bags. You can already see I'm super tired, but I keep continuing every single day because I see here what is at hand. We're seeing here now that the money is changing hands.
Like I said, 90% of my crypto portfolio is spot XRP. So if I was going to look to sell some XRP, maybe I would be selling off a chunk of my portfolio right now. But and I want to be careful how I worded that. I only have XRP to sell off in any substantial amount is what I was trying to say. I'm not looking to sell any of my XRP right now. I'm just saying I don't have a bunch of crap that I need to offload right now. I have a bunch of small.
You got to have a plan. That's the thing. You got to have a plan of what you have and not get stressed about it.
Or positions. I think the total maybe is like 15 or 20, but positions with size, XRP is 90% of my portfolio. And then I have about the remaining 10% of that is broken up between many positions that don't even make up 1% of my portfolio. So I'm heavy XRP. But to me, what I just gathered from this and what Blockchain Backer just put out is he had a lot of other projects, considerable positions. And at this point, yeah, I see taking some chips off the table and getting some liquidity. I've been urging caution, staying liquid, keeping some margin around. And at this point, I've sized down my leverage trade, right? I took profit on my XRP long last Friday before we had the largest liquidation event of 2025. And now I'm back in an XRP long, but it's much smaller, right? So I've downsized my XRP long position because, look at the charts right now. The market makers are just sniping us one after another, right? So anyways, to each their own. That's what I gathered from BC Backer, from Peter Brandt.
I feel like a lot of people are also holding different stuff, which is good to be diversified. But in crypto, if you're diversified in crypto, the issue is you have a much higher chance to actually lose that money because a lot of these projects will be gone, right? And that's why a lot of people hold only 100%. In stock market, there's a lot of companies that are going to be around because they have some sort of backing, while crypto, it does not have the same play. Look at how many are around since 2020. Look how many companies are around since 2020. Many, many more. Even if they're maybe lower than before, these companies protected themselves and still stay alive.
The negative sentiment that I see out there on X, in the comments, this is typically right when we get massive reversals out to the upside. And we've seen this volatility at this stage, this late in a bull run, every single time. And it's right before you go break out to new all-time highs for the alts. Now, once again, I believe that 90% of the space is a joke and doesn't have real value. So if you're invested in those crap coins, yeah, I'd probably be looking to cut ties or at least lower my targets at this point. This bull run is so diluted by 50 million different meme coins and different things. And now you can...
I would say the real bull run was back in 2021 with all the meme coins. And now it's more about still utility. But we're still waiting from the U.S. government to, announce all the projects. And maybe that's behind works. Maybe November is going to be much, much better. That's where I'm really hopeful.
Bet on all sorts of different stuff. Poly market, all these different things to be a degenerate gambler. And it's keeping people out of the solid utility projects, keeping, they're not
That's the same scenario that happened in 2021, though.
keeping their eyes on the prize, and they've diversified into 50 different crap coins, hoping and praying that they go up. That's not a real strategy. And especially at this stage in the bull run, it is time to consolidate into good utility, into assets that are getting ETFs, are getting digital asset treasuries, digital asset treasury companies, and getting institutional adoption. Speaking of ETFs, another ETF just got approved. That would be the Hashdex NASDAQ Crypto Index.
A lot of ETFs approved, but the main ETFs will be in October anyway. I don't really look at these ETFs because I don't know if they're true ones. I'm looking at the big ones with 99% volume.
And the fund is now cleared to hold crypto assets beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum, including XRP, Solana, Cardano, Link, and XLM. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the projects that you want to get into.
Yeah.
And I noticed that even BC Backer in his post, he put out a list of projects that he's looking at: XRP, SWI, ETH, Link, ADA, and Sol, which are all projects that are slated to get ETFs for Solana, Cardano, Chainlink being included in this one too. I think that we're still away from an XLM spot, a Cardano spot.
I mean, a lot of these ETFs will be coming out. I don't know if just for XRP. I feel like XRP is just the stepping stone for a lot of these projects.
But the Solana and the XRP spot ETFs are set to go live next month. Now, this brings me to my data point that I'm going to share with you guys and why I'm not moving any of my XRP right now. I'm just still holding all of it and still remaining with my higher targets for XRP. And I'm talking about $20 to $30 X.
Now, $20 to $30, this is what I was waiting for. I don't feel like this is going to happen this cycle. If you're hopeful for that, you need to be hopeful for like 300,000 Bitcoin. But $5, $4, I would definitely be very excited for that as well. It would be a part of it that would keep a lot of people happy.
XRP base case, worst case scenario, base case for 2026 is a $20 to $30
Make your bets, see where it can go. We don't have a crystal ball. I fully agree, man.
XRP, and that's just backed off data. This is the data that I'm talking about. The CME just says that they've hit our 4-month milestone for XRP futures. The reason for the momentum: demand for trusted, regulated crypto products. XRP and micro XRP futures 4-month recap: 397,000 contracts.
Trading will always be profitable though. Like for XRP, even if there's maybe, as long as there's users, there's already going to be someone trading XRP.
Traded 18 billion of notional volume, and it's the equivalent of 6 billion XRP being traded. That is equivalent to 6% of the XRP total supply being traded. What this tells me is that when the spot markets go live, we are easily looking at 5 to 10 billion of inflows and trading.
I hope we get 5 to 10. I'm actually expecting more like 2 billion because, Bitcoin had that much. Didn't Bitcoin have 5 to 10 billion? So it's going to be harder for XRP to get that.
In the ETFs. Now, you'll have inflows, you will have outflows. Depending on how aggressive the inflows come in, that's going to determine our market cap multiplier and how quickly we could see my targets of 20 to 30 bucks. But I have already gone through the math. I'm not going to break it down in this episode, but the math is very simple. And what it's told me is that if we do get 5 to 10 billion of inflows, your base case is a $20 to $30 XRP. And in the 4-month milestone check from the CME group, we're already trading 6 billion XRP equivalent, which is equivalent right now to 18 billion of notional volume. That tells me that when the ETFs go live, you're going to see 6 billion XRP equivalent, 18 billion notional volume.
I think that's overestimated because we are reaching, in my opinion, end of the market cycle.
You're going to see 10 billion plus of inflows into the XRP ETFs year one. These ETFs have already started to go live. The Rex Osprey, now this NASDAQ hash index, what is it called? Hashdex NASDAQ crypto index. That includes a 6.93% allocation to XRP. The spot ETFs, we have, I think, 7 that are slated to go live in October. And we're just, the data's right there, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Don't get liquidated short-term trading if you don't know what you're doing.
That's the issue. it can turn over at any point.
Just buy your XRP, hold it, and watch the inflows come in. Watch Wall Street sell it. Watch BlackRock and all these other institutions show up at Ripple Swell Conference and lift the veil on all of the partnerships that they've established over the past decade that Ripple's been in business.
They got a lot of NDAs for sure.
And let the money flow into us. Let the money come on in. It's going to come. The data's right there.
All right, we got one more. XRP billions are gone from Levi.
Army, you guys need to listen up right now because
Are billions really gone? Yeah, the billions are liquidated. They're gone off the market. Maybe it's more like a couple of 50 million, but 100 million, but it's definitely like a hit. You know, it's something noticeable. But in the long run, probably not. A lot of these people come back to the markets.
because billions of dollars are gone, and the Fed just absolutely shocked the world with their latest piece of news that they released. Some data has come for you wonderful people back at home. And so I want to talk about the volatility, because you guys have probably noticed XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these assets have been bouncing up and down like crazy over the last few days. And I want to talk about what's going on and why this volatility is actually likely to get even more crazy from here. We just saw over $22 billion worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum options expire today. This means a lot more liquidity is going to be.
Yeah, so this is just the short-term markets, right? The long-term markets, it's going to be fine. Like, you know, we saw this every single time, like every 3 months. This is what the stuff that happens. But what if this time is different?
Bouncing around these markets, and yes, the volatility is not going to end. Now, what most of you are probably wondering, does that mean more downside? Does that mean more upside? I'm going to get into that very soon based off of other things that I'm seeing. We'll talk about that very soon. We're seeing some pretty interesting things happen when it comes to borrowing. Tech companies, in fact, are borrowing money at a rapid pace. What we're seeing is tech companies have raised over $157 billion.
Now, this is the thing that truly worries me. When they're borrowing lots of money, you got to repay that money. And that's what we saw in 2008. Now, I'm not saying that, but again, if they can pay it off, that's great. A lot of people are saying, you know, tech companies will not, you know, be sustainable in that way. I'm definitely hoping they are, though. That would be amazing.
$1 billion in the U.S. public bond market year to date, which is the highest year to date total since 2020. Now, I don't think I need to remind you guys, but the 2021 bull run, right before we saw, of course, the all-time highs for Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, during the last cycle in 2021, had a very similar trend. You can see tech borrowing went absolutely through the roof in 2020.
So that's the issue. But 2020 was a bit different, though, because a lot of these businesses were closed. Tech companies can actually make money now. It's not like inflated money, right? So this data is a bit off, in my opinion, at least what I think so, unless I'm missing something. Tech companies back then also had a financial boom. And yeah, we did have, you know, a sudden drop, but it went back up.
And then, of course, it went down a little bit in 2021. But you can see this is actually when we hit the all-time highs. And when you think about it, this makes a lot of sense. Basically, what is happening right now is tech companies are borrowing money, they're investing that money, they're building massive AI infrastructure, they're investing into blockchain technology, you name it. Then the profits will follow, which will make even more investors want to purchase these assets, which will, of course, drive them to becoming new all-time high numbers. And then, of course, the Fed, sometime probably in 2026 or 2027, will start raising rates again, which of course will make that bubble pop because the liquidity is going to start getting drained out of the market.
What if they can pay it off? Now that's the question I have. If they can pay this off with the money they have, with the profits they're generating, which they couldn't sustain those profits in 2020, because how could they get revenue if people could not afford tech? If they did not have a job, people did not have a job, they couldn't go to work. You know, they could not pay off the tech, which could not make sales. It's going to be totally different in 2025.
So once again, essentially what I'm saying is I think it's very likely we're going to hit
Ms.
new
Drunken
highs in
don't
2026, followed by, of course, a massive pop once the Fed starts quantitative tightening or raising the interest rates. Now, nobody knows exactly when the Fed is going to raise or lower rates, including the Fed most of the time, because they're relying on information that is still...
I mean, it's pretty obvious that what's hinting at they're going to cut another interest rate. And Levi did say that after 3 months, we will see that effect
coming in every single day. But what we absolutely can do is look at what the Fed is currently saying and look at what the data currently is to get a pretty good idea of what they're going to continue to do. It's abundantly clear that there's a lot of money being available for tech companies right now, which is a sign that business is going to thrive over the course of probably the next 12-ish to 10 months.
That's good news.
August PCE inflation, which is the Fed's preferred inflation measure, has risen to 2.7% in line with expectations. Core PCE inflation was 2.9% in line.
I mean, if it's in line, this is good. If it raises more, that's when the government gets scared.
With expectations of 2.9%.
So the economy is literally better than everyone predicted. So I don't think it will be the same crash as 2020.
PCE inflation is at its highest since February of 2025, yet the Fed is going to keep cutting rates. What this essentially means is the price of your goods and services is likely to continue to rise at a fairly unsustainable rate, which is going to drive even more people to invest their assets as the dollar continues to erode in value, which, by the way, the US dollar is having one of its absolute worst 12 months it has ever had in history. And it's only picking up from here because the Fed is going to continue to cut rates. And so, yes, more liquidity is going to enter in, but it's ultimately going to result in some pretty bearish outlook for the US dollar. So people need to get out of the US dollar. They need to go into the stocks. They need to go into the crypto in order to preserve their capital. That is going to continue the more the Fed cuts rates. And the Fed has announced they see 2 more interest rate cuts by the end of this year, which means more and more money printing is going to be happening as they liquidate these treasuries. Another interesting thing, and this is a lesson that I learned in investing that made me so much money. Like, it literally changed my life. Hopefully it'll change.
Investors sold $4 billion in U.S. equities last week. I mean, because the markets are good, they're going to probably keep selling. If they're making a lot of money, they're going to take massive profits. This always happens, guys. Again, stocks are up. Of course, they're going to take profits. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe to say take profits in that sense.
Change your guys' lives too. When everybody is bearish, be bullish. When everyone is bullish, be bearish. What is the sentiment? What are people doing with their capital right now? Well, this is extremely interesting. Professional, retail, and hedge fund investors sold $3.8 billion in U.S. equities last week. Institutional investors sold $1.4 billion, reversing the net selling for the first time in 3 months. This brings down the 4-week average of buying down to $1.6 billion. Hedge funds were also net sellers at $2 billion, following $2.9 billion the prior week, pulling their 4-week average down to $1 billion.
So these sales are not that scary to me because, again, if there's lots of profits, these billionaires and stockholders and everyone else will probably sell. They will not sell in 2022.
Meanwhile, retail investors sold $300 million, posting the 3rd consecutive weekly outflow after $800 million in the preceding week. Wall Street and Main Street are cashing in gains. But there is an institutional level of buying that is happening right now that many people are not paying attention to. You can see the net gains right here versus the outflows right here.
Will they buy XRP as well? That's what I'm wondering. Like, would this mean that it's mostly say stocks and equity ETFs, but will they buy XRP after like the XRP ETFs come in? That would be amazing.
Institutional right there. So basically, the vast majority of people right now are selling. And they are selling way too early because the Fed just cut rates. But that's what most people think. Most people think the Fed cuts rates. All right, the markets have peaked right when the Fed cuts rates. I'm going to sell right now as soon as the Fed cuts rates. It doesn't work like that. I've covered this so many times on my channel, but I'm here to tell you guys it takes at least 3 months for that liquidity from the Fed cutting rates and printing money for it to enter into the markets. And
so that's what I'm worried. Like, is this going to be a delayed pump of December?
Generally, 20 out of 20 of the last 20 times, actually. So this is like a 100% success rate. 20 out of 20 of the last times that the Fed cut rates, within the S&P being at a certain level of all-time highs, which it is right now, the stock market closed higher 12 months later, and so did the crypto market, for all of the examples that we do have on record. So if smart institutional buyers are buying over the last 4-week average, retail and everyone else is pretty much selling, I think it tells a pretty compelling story. Most people are bearish right now because they don't understand the fundamentals. They don't understand what's going to happen. They don't understand the money is going to come back in. There's a very small subset of people that are very well trained on the markets. It's quite literally their job, who are basically buying. But yeah, it's going to get very interesting here. And I think a lot of people are going to get caught completely off guard, hedge funds included. Institutions probably are going to be the only ones who will do very well here. There's going to be a very small amount of retail investors that will do well as well. And so naturally, with all of these options,
I kind of agree here. I feel like the institutions, like I'm going to trust institutions. I don't know why hedge funds are selling though. That's what scares me. But if institutions are buying these stock equity ETFs, I'm going to go on the way. If retail is selling, I'm going to go on the way and trust them, right? I don't know what the blue line is or what the very bluish line is. That's what I'm worried about. What are they buying? What are they selling? So maybe they're selling stocks and buying equity ETFs. Is it because equity ETFs are getting listed now?
Probably are going to be the only ones who will do very well here. There's going to be a very small amount of retail investors that will do well as well. And so naturally, with all of these options expiring, as we went in earlier here.
So that's pretty obvious. Like this is just day trading. This is normal for profiting and everything like that. So won't be too afraid.
We know the volatility is going to come. So short term, I want to make it very clear. It's possible that XRP touches new lows. In fact, our current bottom support line is somewhere around 256 at this moment.
Everyone is calling 256. I feel like if it drops, it's not just going to magically stop at 256. It will go even lower. But then again, it's time to see the real manipulators behind XRP and crypto. XRP and crypto crashes. You deserve to know the truth or whatever it is. So smash that like button if you guys haven't already, and let's get right into the video from Levi.
Price, liquidity's drying up. TGA refill. I think there's a large part of the U.S. economy that is very illiquid. Capital is scarce right now. But what do I think is going to happen? I continue to believe very fundamentally that the U.S.
So the crypto markets, even when they crash, I feel like a lot of whales price that in. Like there is whales and there's billionaires actually and millionaires sharing us this type of info for free. A lot of what's happening behind the scenes, again, is very much predicted. Just like when XRP had a huge lawsuit, there was a lot of dumps, and a lot of whales bought. This is the same thing that's happening. Why are institutions buying, but retail is selling? It's a very important question you have to ask yourself.
Government and the Federal Reserve are acting in a way of survival. They are on their deathbed, and there are a few ways out. Nuclear war, that's uninvestable. We're all gone. Or the exit valve is the US dollar.
You guys need to listen up right now, because if you...
So the US dollar, why is the US dollar crashing? I feel like there's a lot more competition, just like crypto coins, basically. And this is what we're seeing right now. It's just lots of money in the next 10 years changing hands, potentially, in my opinion, from retail investors to institutions. A lot of institutions are doing exactly that.
Ready to skyrocket, and you're going to start to understand who the true manipulators of the market really are. It's not really BlackRock, it's not really anyone else, it's the actual Fed. And there's many reasons why I want to abolish the Fed, but we're going to be diving deeper into that later in this video once we really get to the core of what's happening and what you guys can do about it. So make sure you smash that like button so everyone in the XRP army sees this important video, and let's get into it.
The United States is not cutting rates for jobs or for inflation. They are cutting rates to keep the U.S. Treasury alive, to keep the U.S. government alive, to keep the U.S. empire alive.
And it is going to be alive. It's still alive. Like a lot of people are saying it's going to crash. I don't think so. I think it is going to be very strong, but I think there's going to be moments where it's super much more weaker.
The cost of that survival is all of you. I'm going to say that again. The cost of their survival is you listening to this show. You, your life, the things you can acquire, the family you want to have, the house you dream of living in. That is the sacrifice and the expense of keeping this empire chugging along. And so think through the framing of this rant as about survival, understanding the task at hand by the powers that be and who they are shortcutting to get where they need to go. First chapter for us, I call the liquidity machine. So going into the show, everyone's like, Jack, Jack, Jack. I thought Bitcoin only goes up. Bitcoin's down 2.5%, which,
So yeah, same with XRP. This scenario applies just the same with XRP.
by the way, come on, chill out. 2.5% is nothing in the grand scheme of things. But yes, Bitcoin took a dip. And I wanted to focus on, I actually think that this dip is very healthy. I'm very excited by this dip. I think this dip is good news. And I want to explain why and just the general trend of what's happening if we zoom out. So this tweet from Arthur Hayes, TGA refill almost done. Target is 850 billion. With this liquidity drain complete, up only can resume. Okay, let's understand what's going on here. So the TGA, that stands for the Treasury General's account. So what Arthur is saying is the Treasury General's account refill is almost done. Think of the Treasury General's account like what it sounds like. It's the it's the checking account of the US government. The U.S. government's checking account sometimes needs to be refilled. How do they refill their checking account? How do they refill their bucket of cash? Well, they sell bonds.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. But what will that do with XRP? That's my question.
Which is a way of borrowing money from the market. And so when the Treasury does that, what Arthur is claiming is they're draining liquidity out of the system because a lot of the capital that is in Bitcoin, that is in assets, that is floating around in the economy, then goes to finance the government by buying bonds. Does that make sense? And so every so often, the United States government needs to refill their checking account. And he ends his tweet by saying, once that's done, we can continue to go higher.
So does that mean that the market has just dipped a bit because of exactly that reason? So it's totally normal for this market crash?
What does he mean by that? He means we're going to continue to go higher because once the Treasury has their checking account full, they go and spend that money into the real economy. One of the biggest spenders in the economy is the U.S. government itself. And
So has it put its spending on pause?
that capital finds its way into Bitcoin, into real estate, into the stock market, into gold, into the economy. And so the Treasury General account is being refilled. That will suck liquidity out of the system. And I think why this excites me so much is Bitcoin continues to be the best expression of fiat liquidity, the best pulse, the best index, the best heartbeat as to how healthy the system is, where the liquidity is, all the way to the Treasury literally refilling its checking account, its money bucket. Just so you guys know, I think that there are serious liquidity issues within the market. We are living in two economies, as I've been saying on this show.
I don't think there was any issues with liquidity right now, at least in general. There wasn't that much of an issue, at least that I'm aware of. I mean, everyone is net positive, right? So who knows?
There is the ultra wealthy, and then there is everybody else. There are scarce desirable asset holders, and then there is everybody else. And we'll get into that in detail later in the episode. But the everybody else continues to struggle. The Treasury is draining liquidity right now. And I think Bitcoin is reacting to that. And as a Bitcoin holder, that's what you want. You do not want Bitcoin to be like the S&P 500, to be collecting a bunch of passive flow.
So XRP is like in cycles, right? That's what makes sense.
That backs the Treasury market with its bullshit 10% up every single year. That's basically more or less reflecting the increase in M2 money supply. You want Bitcoin to be the escape valve, the exit door, the pure reflection of the devil in the mirror.
I tend to believe that that is actually XRP, which is the solution. And with that being said, I want to bring a quick word from today's video sponsor. Listen.
So yeah, it kind of makes sense. What's happening here is that XRP is entering basically a cycle phase where people keep it for the long term, right? So that's the real deal here. They're going for the long-term brand in a sense. And they don't want to grow the same way. They grow in cycles, not in, just a small pump or just like a waves or just constantly, but it grows in pumps. So unlike stocks, it does something completely different.
And take a look at the bigger picture. So I pulled up this tweet last episode. I wanted to resurface it. So it reads, in the month of August, the U.S. government collected $344 billion. Now, that is from tariffs. So that is income the United States is generating, revenue the United States is generating, new revenue from this tariff program. Good for them. Just one problem. They spent $689 billion. So that is a $345 billion, with a B, $billion deficit in 1 month. If you were to annualize that, take that $345 billion, you multiply it by 12, you're well over, $3 trillion of deficit spending in a year. Incredibly unsustainable. Why do I want to resurface this? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, in September 2025, U.S. individual income tax payments for fiscal year have increased by 12% year over year, meaning the U.S. growth in the income that they take from all of us in taxes, the theft that they take from us via taxes. I just had a massive IRS payment. So the theft, the property theft that they are taking from us in the form of taxes grew 12% year over year. Another interesting stat is the U.S. money supply has grown about 5% year over year.
So that's actually good. If the U.S. money supply grows, it usually means that the markets are going up for that fact. So again, this is delayed and everything points towards December.
Money supply is up 5%. Tax receipts are up 12%. How the hell is the deficit higher? Guys, that would be the equivalent if you got a 12% raise, but your credit card bill went up anyway. If you're bringing in more income, if you are printing more money, the deficit is supposed to come down. Despite 12% year over year tax receipts, despite 5% year over year U.S. money growth, despite tariffs, which brought in over $300 billion in a month. Our deficits grew. Our deficits grew.
So I hope this makes things abundantly clear to you that the U.S. government has a massive spending problem. I mean,
it just like cycles really, right? So with the cycles, you have good cycles and bad cycles. And now we're really waiting for the U.S. to do its thing. Could it be I was wrong and it's going to be, September? Instead of September, it's going to be, for example, December? Yeah. We cannot predict when it will happen, but it is a positive thought. There is another thing that made me really happy. So XRP will be extremely valuable because of this.
It's pretty obvious at this point that XRP continues to break some.
So a lot of people are calling for XRP $100, $2,000. Why? You have to ask yourself, why would it be that much? And it's for a very clear reason. XRP has something that no one else does, and big banks are willing to pay for it. That's where XRP wins.
Historical records, but also hit some crazy milestones. One of the most recent milestones was the 4-month recap from CME Group, which was regarding XRP futures. We have here that we've hit our 4-month milestone for XRP futures. The reason for the momentum.
So this is pretty important because futures basically means the more volume you get, sometimes indicates the more volume, the price also goes up, because the more attention, guys, nowadays in crypto means more money goes up.
Demand for trusted, regulated crypto products. Here we have XRP and micro XRP futures 4-month recap. 397,000 contracts traded. $18.3 billion worth of notional volume. The average daily volume was around 213 million. This is equivalent to 6 billion XRP. Again, this is a futures position. This is not a spot-based position.
So this is not selling or buying. This is like saying the price is going up, the price is going down. So just let that sink in.
I stress that because the ETFs. So many people are underestimating the demand that the spot-based ETFs will create. If a futures contract is getting this much momentum behind it, it is showing you clear momentum, it is showing you clear demand, and it's also showing you that if a futures contract can do 6 billion worth of XRP volume in a 4-month time period, double it, triple it, quadruple it. That's the type of volume that we can
So yeah, ETFs, another big factor of volume, which would be nice.
see from spot-based contracts. And no, that's not me being too bullish. I don't think that this space is ready for spot-based XRP ETFs.
I mean, ETFs are awesome, but they have to arrive, right? And that's September, October. The good thing about ETFs is once they're there, they're going to stay there for long term. They're going to stay there for 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 20 years. It doesn't matter.
And I'm talking about full-on ETFs, not the Rex Osprey one
Yeah,
that we have,
those
which
are
is
not
80%
real.
weighted.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, regarding this, we also got some pretty big updates from Axler, right?
It's my last week in Vietnam.
Slightly. MXRP, we have introducing
Yield bearing liquid stake, the Kickstarter DeFi. Again, more projects. Same happened with Terra Luna. This is good. Again, the Terra Luna is a complete other scenario, but they had a lot of great projects there. Even though they crashed and they went to zero, I still think, at least feel, that the projects there were amazing. Even though the project itself was flawed and didn't work, having more stuff and giving people, a reason to use the chain is an awesome idea in that sense.
XRP, a new yield-bearing liquid staked token that kickstarts DeFi on the XRP ledger and unlocks up to 10% APY for XRP holders. Now, we did get a full breakdown of this now from Axler. We have a lot more information. So this is going to be a liquid stake, the yield-bearing XRP token on the XRP ledger, issued out by Midas RWA under EU-approved prospectus. Delta neutral strategies deployed by trusted asset managers, like, for example, Hyperrhythm, that evolve with...
So yeah, this is maybe not that big now, but it will stack up. Like, sometimes news like that is not going to be insane. It's not going to be a game changer. But it is nice to see that a lot of these big companies will use XRP to somehow make money by staking it.
Market conditions to offer strong risk-adjusted XRP yield, fully composable with DeFi.
So basically giving yield back. It's not risk-free, don't get me wrong. It is not risk-free. There is definitely risk. But again, this was not possible for XRP before, and that's something, that Ethereum has been doing for a while.
Across the board with Strobe Finance, XP Market, Anados Finance, target up to 10% APY denominated in XRP. Not available to people in the US or the UK, plus other jurisdictions that are restricted. But I do think that at some point in time, that will change. But also, Ethereum provided the blueprint, so they're taken away from what's been happening around Ethereum. So liquid staked tokens like ST Ethereum transformed Ethereum into the backbone of DeFi. They powered lending, trading, and new stablecoins, unlocking billions in fresh liquidity. Today, the LSTs on Ethereum account for about roughly $60 billion plus in TVL and many millions per day in on-chain trading volume. MXRP will be that catalyst for the XRP ledger. Now, when we are thinking about this, right, this is a huge deal. In fact, this is going to unlock so much more potential around the XRP ledger. And already we see over here that less than 48 hours in, and MXRP is already a top pull on the XRP ledger. And here we...
So that's because there's no pulls at this moment. That's why I feel like it's the top pull, because there's really none at this point. There are small ones, but it's really showing that, it's a positive step in the right direction that XRP is at least, building on the chain. And perhaps in like 4 years, we will see more people start to use it, because it hasn't seen that much in the recent times.
From Tyler XRP. In less than 48 hours, the XRP pool climbed to the 5th largest on the XRP ledger. RWAs are starting to explode on the XRP ledger, and MXRP is showing how big this can get. And yeah, this is a very big deal. Now, on top of this, we also got another big update, and that's from Charlie Rosenthal from
PSA to all XRP bulls, a well minted $3 million, $8 million dollars, and the vault is now at 96 capacity. I'm guessing because you can get a lot of money like yields from this, right?
We have PSA to all the XRP bulls.
Because like if there's API of 10% and he keeps this 1 month in, wow, he's making tons.
A whale minted 3 million MXRP.
So that's why it's the most top one.
Valued at 8.
But that's what gives, Ethereum, all these chains value at that point, and what gives it utility.
5 million, and the vault is now at 96% capacity. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, this happened in a very short amount of time. This is showing us that these types of products, there is a crazy demand for. And no, this is not an ETF. No, this is not a futures contract. This is yield-bearing opportunities around XRP. There is always going to be intense amount of demand for,
XRP yield in the future, if it works, is going to bring a lot of different whales.
Things like this. I think that, this is only going to continue to really heat up around the XRP ledger as we start to see more and more things launched. Like, for an example, Flare. Flare just announced for over a decade, XRP has powered fast and efficient settlement at scale. FXRP on Flare extends that strength with composability, opening new growth opportunities. XRP is collateral, liquidity, and yield in.
So Flare also had a huge partnership with XRP, and now we're starting to see, XRP doing its thing.
DeFi. This is FXRP.
So it seems like a lot of these big projects, and this is a multi-million-dollar project, joining XRP is bullish by design.
It's very similar to what we are seeing with Axler. It's a little bit different, obviously, but F assets are now live on the XRP ledger. This is the perfect time. I mean, if we're thinking about the momentum here, if we're thinking about everything happening around XRP, DeFi is now becoming a reality. But it's not just DeFi, okay? It's everything all at once. Futures, ETFs, ETPs, DeFi, institutional DeFi, stablecoin boom, tokenization boom. We're starting to see the big banks moving in. We're starting to see Ripple expand the XRP market. I mean, almost everything is happening at a perfect moment. Now,
yeah,
I've talked about supply shocks for XRP. Listen, I understand that things can sound like it's too good to be true. All of these things that are happening right now are going to lead to XRP becoming extremely valuable. No.
I feel like this is what adds value, right? XRP actually doing stuff by design as it was meant to do. This is what they've been doing from 2015, and now they can finally incorporate this type of, news and events.
Won't happen in 24 hours. No, it won't happen in 7 days. No, it won't happen in 30 days.
I think it will take at least 2 years, to be honest, because of all the regulation.
It won't even happen in 365 days. That's right. It will take longer than a year. But I want you guys to understand that all of this is just starting. We have an incredible path in front of us that we are going to travel down. And this is going to lead to XRP becoming extremely valuable.
That's the thing that happened with Terra. Why did Terra become valuable? Because all these projects wanted to build on the Terra chain. Of course, that didn't work out in the end, but...
Because all of this is demand-related products. I saw a post the other day from 24 Hours Crypto, and I quoted this. I even said that for those doubting an XRP supply shock happening at some point, read this post. I personally think it's inevitable, especially with institutional adoption heating up. Here we have people don't realize how little XRP is left. Between the Ripple escrow and the liquidity from Ripple, we're talking about over 40+%. There's 37.3 billion XRP in Ripple escrow. There's 3.5 billion from the liquid Ripple holdings. 2.3 billion from Chris Larson, and 1.3 billion from Arthur Brito. That's nearly 44.4% of the supply already accounted for.
But that's the thing, like, this is a lot. I don't think Ripple will ever sell this escrow unless needed because they're already profitable. Chris Larsen has been selling a small portion. So yeah, this is, when you look at institutions, yeah, of course they're holding XRP, but that's the thing. It just needs, like, you know, someone to sell 100 million to really crash XRP. I wouldn't be looking that too much into it.
And then you have to look at institutional players. Purpose ETF already holds 29.6 million XRP, 89 million at $3. 3IQ holds another 45 million, 137 million at $3. The best part is that these are small firms, not trillion-dollar giants. Retail, maybe 15% of the supply at best. When JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman enter, billions more XRP vanish into cold storage. For the record, XRP is at $2.91 right now. We'll come back to requote this. Now, again, if we are thinking about this, yeah, there's going to be a lot of big players that move in on XRP. Treasury companies, institutional players.
I mean, can't they just buy it from XRP directly?
I mean,
that's what some of them been doing, or just buying XRP. Pretty sure you can invest in the XRP as a whole company, and then you get some of these XRP coins at very cheap prices. But I'm not sure if the XRP company is going to be cheaper to buy, to invest.
Lockups just from retail alone around products like, for an example, DeFi and yield-bearing opportunities, that's going to lock a significant amount of XRP up. I don't think that people realize how much demand there is for XRP right now. And again, this is something that I have been spotlighting for quite some time, especially at a time where we're starting to see institutional DeFi become a reality on the XRP ledger as well. Ripple XDev just recently posted about this on the 22nd. Institutional DeFi is here, and the XRP ledger has solidified its position as the trusted open source settlement layer for global institutional players. The next phase of the roadmap starts now. Explore it below and read the full blog for details. I do have the blog open here in a second, but let's look over a few things here. So over the past year, the XRP ledger has broken into the top 10 chains for RWA tokenization and reached its first month with over $1 billion in stablecoin volume.
So that's the thing. They're setting up for the 5 years in the future. That's what I'm telling you about, guys, about RWA. This is where they really win, right? The RWA is they're doubling down 10 years ahead because they got enough money. They're going to go the long-term game.
Clear we're entering a new phase as lending compliance, programmability, and tokenization converge. The updated institutional DeFi roadmap for the XRP ledger includes what's live, what's under validator vote, and it highlights two major upcoming primitives: a native lending protocol, zero knowledge proofs, enabling privacy with accountability, and then the focus continues to flow towards the features institutions need to operate on chain at scale with the same speed, security, and simplicity that define the XRP ledger. Live today, credentials tied to DIDs for verified KYC.
So yeah, that's the future thing. I think that's like in 10 years that they were talking about. Again, we made a video on that as well, but potentially what they're going to be doing is some sort of identification on the blockchain along with real world assets. That would be absolutely amazing though.
And regulatory permissions, deep freeze to halt illicit transfers from flagged accounts, simulate for risk-free transaction testing, and token escrow and AMM upgrades for institutional settlement. Next on the roadmap is multi-purpose tokens to accommodate assets natively, which we talked about MPTs. This is going to be a huge game changer around tokenized assets. Then the native lending protocol in the XRP Ledger v3.0.0 to enable low-cost compliant credit. That lending protocol is going to be a game changer because lending and borrowing is it's actually the top category for TVL in the DeFi space.
That's the thing they're doing now. Now that's the main thing, right? TVO or lending and borrowing. But in the future, I really feel like it's tokenization. Maybe it could be the same part as NFTs, which have went away. But tokenization, basically putting everything on the blockchain, is something that governments were talking about adding. So it could be a very big thing in that way.
Significant. but there's so much here that's going to be built out on the XRP ledger that just continues to upgrade something that is so disruptive that, you know, we never thought really it could improve from this point on. And guess what? 2025 proved that the XRP ledger is undergoing one of the largest upgrades in history, from native smart contracts to a native lending pool, and, you know, all of these things to enable institutional DeFi. I mean, it's crazy that, you know, this is happening right now. It's at a perfect time. So I really am excited about this because, again, tokenization, credit on chain, all of these things are going to enable massive use cases. We're talking about use cases
that's where it really matters, right? But again, a lot of the holders might sell before that, will not stay for that matter. Like, yeah, if you tell someone this is going to be great in 5 years, maybe they will not stay around still. They'll say, okay, cool, but I'm still going to sell it now that it's $4, right? But this is for the ones that will truly keep, you know, holding maybe that 10% that truly goes in deep and keeps on.
Institutional players will want to tap into, enterprises that want to tap into this as well. This is not your typical billion-dollar use case. No, this is trillions and trillions of dollars of use cases. And we already have players lined up. Like, for an example, we just talked about, you know, this partnership with Securitize with BlackRock and, you know, Morgan Stanley, because those are the two players that back Securitize. This is all based around tokenization. Also, yeah, just, you know, less than a week ago, DBS Bank and Franklin Templeton partnered up. This was all based around tokenization. These types of moves are happening consistently. And when we combine all of this with the futures, the ETFs, the DeFi expansion with even retail involved, and then we look at the supply, and it's very easy to get to the point where this is going to be a utility.
That's the thing. I don't think it will ever be sold out, but I do think a lot of these projects will end up being built. Now, you know, XRP is already super profitable, so it doesn't have to sell any of these tokens. Someone might, so I don't think the supply shock is, I think it's a meme. But I feel like this is a great step toward the right direction. XRP Ripple Crypto What TF. So let's take a look.
Are crashing stocks.
Everything is crashing, or maybe has recovered a bit by the time this video is out. But one thing is for sure, you know, Miles G predicted this is something that has been happening before.
Crashing. What is going on? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my thoughts of why it is taking place and much more. So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and stick around to the end of this video. The entire crypto market has been crashing, dumping very hard, very aggressively. What is the reason for this? Well, there is no particular reason, but I told you all the past couple of weeks that the rate cut situation is a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And XRP has come all the way down to 274. Yesterday, hit $3, dumped down about 8%, and we are back to key support. The market is now bouncing after the daily close, and it's very, very light.
Yeah, it's been a bit terrible crash, but again, it's not going to cry us a river, right? If we go from 366 down for $1 when we went up from 50 cents. Again, a lot of people were celebrating the gains, but we also have to celebrate the small losses. Under 2.5, it is scaring me, and it's a very scary thought that I don't even want to think about.
Likely that the market is going to bounce up and pump up. So why is this taking place? Well, you have people taking profits. People are de-risking. We are about to enter into the fourth quarter, which is historically the most bullish month for cryptocurrencies and XRP. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I do believe the bull market still has time left. And we have one more massive pump left in this bull market. Let me know if you guys agree with that in the comments below, or is the bull
I mean, yeah, this definitely makes sense. Like another bull market before everything goes down. That would be amazing.
Market over with? Let me know your thoughts below. But XRP is at key support, and every single time it comes to this level, we bounce very, very hard. We bounce there, we bounce there, we bounce there. And I believe we are going to continue to bounce. Bitcoin has all
We could see lower until December. It's a real possible scenario. It's sad to see, but You can't really stop it.
Bitcoin needs to hold 107,000. If Bitcoin continue to hold 107,000, a bounce and pump for altcoins after this crazy crash is very, very likely in my opinion. Now, if you guys want to know exactly when I'm getting in and out of positions as I make 7 figures a year trading cryptocurrencies, you guys can copy all of my exact moves by joining the WAP. And if you want to copy literally all of my goal and
so yeah, he's saying he has, you know, back trades. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But I do agree with him when he says that we have another bull run cycle, and I will believe when traders say, hey, this is not the end. I will believe them, honestly. And he's saying the same for XRP Ripple.
same exact thing. And if we are following the cycle, which has been followed 100% of the time for the past cycles, Bitcoin should do this. And if Bitcoin should do this, I think this particular pump, this was a 60% pump.
So yeah, but we already saw a pump this year. That's what I'm worried here.
We will see something probably similar for that for Bitcoin. That should send us, in my opinion, close to 150,000 or more. So I think that this is literally where we are at. We are somewhere in this region here, and we should continue to pump up. So what I think is going to most likely take place very, very soon, I think XRP is probably going to test this $3 region.
A lot of, you know, like YouTubers are saying below 2.5 is going to be a big problem.
If we can break and hold above $3 approximately, we're going to retest 320 and 340. So these are the levels that we are looking for. If you guys, make sure you mark this on your calendars, mark this on your charts, put alarms at these levels. If you start to see XRP breaking these levels, holding up, and the market's looking strong, everything is looking good, XRP is going to be getting ready to make one of the biggest moves this year, in my opinion, which could be $5 to $7. This is personally my opinion as a professional. It's not financial advice. This is all for educational purposes. But guys, this is what I am thinking.
I feel like at $4, it's going to have a big problem to push again. But that's about it. Smash that like button, guys. I'll keep you guys updated with more news.